The PlayStation Classic. What an interesting system this has been, and it hasn't even been released yet. I remember when the PlayStation Classic was first announced, setting up my lights at 2:30 in the morning so that I can make a video on this thing, because admittedly, I love retro nostalgia stuff like this. I love these plug-and-play systems, things like the NES Classic, the SNES Classic, the upcoming Sega Genesis Classic system. Whenever they're officially done by companies, I hold them to a higher standard, as I think most consumers would, because you're expecting them to put their best foot forward. And when the PlayStation Classic was first unveiled with 5 games announced for it, I was pretty excited for it. Then we got the full list of games, and I was kind of like, okay, you know, there's some problems here, there's some issues, but, you know, I'm still on board with this thing. You know, it's not going to appeal to everyone, it's not going to have every game you want on it, it's still decent enough to make me want to get one. And then we got hands-on previews of the thing, and it was kind of like, okay, so there's some issues here. There's some definite issues here with the PlayStation Classic. You know, I could see why some people won't want it, but I feel like it's still decent enough to pick up, maybe. But now we have new information today that just has me saying, this is insanity. This is absolute insanity. I don't understand why Sony's even releasing this thing, because it's the most half-assed thing in the world right now. Literally, one of the most half-assed things in the world. This is like AT Games quality. You know what? Those AT Games blast systems may actually be better than this PlayStation Classic. And that's saying a lot, because you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of AT Games. So what is going on with the PlayStation Classic? How is the system getting worse and worse? We're going to catch you up to speed with the PlayStation Classic and then talk about the new information that just has me shaking my head. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about how the PlayStation Classic is getting worse and worse and worse.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So to briefly catch you up to speed on the PlayStation Classic, if for $99.99 you will get a PlayStation Classic preloaded with 20 games on it, 2 controllers, and HDMI out, but it does not come with an AC adapter. That's okay, you have a million different micro USB AC adapters, you'll get over it. And admittedly, when it was first unveiled, the first 5 games I thought looked pretty decent enough. It had a good variety. Of course, the standout titles were Final Fantasy VII and Tekken 3. And then we got the other 15 games announced for the system, and it was kind of like, okay, so there's some problems here. There's some things missing. There's some inclusions that I don't think anyone cares about. Mr. Driller, is there really a huge fan base for Mr. Driller on the PS1? I'm sure there's a subculture out there, much like for Solomon's Key on the NES, when I said Solomon's Key is a game that nobody cares about, and people quickly informed me that Solomon's Key is a very popular game, evidently. I'm sure there's many Mr. Driller fans out there who will let me know in the comments section down below. But a game that I think nobody's a fan of is Rainbow Six, because let's face it, Rainbow Six on the PlayStation 1 sucked. Like, it was okay on the N64, pretty damn good on the Dreamcast, excellent on the PC, but the PlayStation 1 version was crap. And you're going to be playing this first-person perspective game with a lot of first-person shooter elements on D-pad, because there's no dual shocks on this thing to keep costs down. But I digress. Metal Gear Solid is still on there. Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Resident Evil Director's Cut. These are prime choice PlayStation 1 games. Yeah, it's kind of missing some big titles though. No Tomb Raider, no Crash Bandicoot, no Spyro, no Wipeout, no Jet Moto. Jet Moto, how are you not gonna have Jet Moto on the thing? There was like 3 Jet Motos that came out on the PlayStation 1. You could have thrown 1 Jet Moto on there. Yeah, it hasn't aged all that well, but it's still definitely playable and still definitely fun. But still, I was okay with the PlayStation Classic. I understood that not all of the games would appeal to me, and there was enough value in the games that were on there that I thought looked pretty cool enough. But then we got hands-on previews of the thing, and then I started to get a little bit angry, and that's when I said that the PlayStation Classic is simply a lazy system, and that is a disappointment, because it is a lazy system. Why is it a lazy system? Look at the interface of this. Now let's be honest here, people. I am not the best editor on YouTube. I'm probably one of the worst editors on YouTube, but honestly, I feel like I could make this. I feel like I can make this interface in like 20 minutes. Like, look at it. It's blue, and it has thumbnails of the box art of the games, and it rotates through. That's it. Where's the flair? Where's the charm? Where's the appeal to this? Where's a little jingle to get you excited for anything? No, it's like the most bare bones interface in the world. And really, that's one of the things that I think draws people into things like the NES and the SNES Classic is the clean interface of the system. Of course, you can only have one save file for every game. Okay, that's not the biggest deal in the world, but things really went downhill for me when people started to talk about the actual emulation on the system. Now, this is a Sony branded product. We've been seeing PlayStation 1 games now since the PS3. You can get them on the Vita, you can get them on the PSP. Obviously, it's not that hard to emulate these games. People have been emulating PlayStation games for a long time, so you would think Sony would have a robust emulator that would have all these features and options, but no, there's no borders, there's no stretching, there's no cleaning up of the graphics, there's no different scans lines that you could put on the thing. It's literally the most bare bones experience in the world to play these PS1 games. And I was okay with it still. I didn't understand it because every compilation that comes out has these beautiful borders, all this information, museums and things like that, but the PlayStation Classic just has nothing. And obviously it was a cheap holiday cash grab, but I could live with that. But the thing I couldn't live with is the problems with the emulation, because you might remember that Eurogamer in their preview of the thing talked about how there was issues with some of the games. And when you were playing a game such as Tekken 3, the controls felt mushy and it felt like there was a delay. And they sort of attributed it to the fact that this is a PlayStation 1 game being played on an HD television. And of course, PS1 games were designed for CRT TVs. You weren't used to having these HD televisions. But I thought that was kind of fishy anyways, because you could play these PS1 games on your PS3 and there's no issue. So why is there an issue with this emulation? And then today's news happened, and I honestly don't know what to say about this. So my buddies over at Hey Poor Player posted this to their Facebook page, and it popped up on my Facebook, and I read this. Make sure you guys go check them out. I'll have a link to them in the description box down below. But now we know the reason. Now we know the reason why Tekken 3 has issues with the game. Because it's not the US version. It's the PAL version. The PAL version! 9 of these games on the American PlayStation Classic are PAL versions of the game. The following games are as follows: Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Grand Theft Auto, Jumping Flash, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Now, what is the problem with that, you might be saying to yourself? What's the big deal about PAL games? People play PAL games all the time. Here's the problem with it. PAL games are 50 hertz. NTSC games are 60 hertz. Okay, so when you're playing these games, they're going to be slower than they are intended because they are the PAL versions of the game. So technically, your copy of Tekken 3 isn't running at 60 frames per second because it's only running at 50 hertz. So it's going to be running worse than it would on an NTSC or the NTSC version of Tekken 3. So the games are running worse because you chose the PAL versions of the game. What? What? This is insanity. If I was a consumer, I would not buy this thing. I would not buy this thing. As a YouTube reviewer, personality, whatever the hell you want to call me, I feel like I have to buy this and I have to review it because I have to tell people about the system, because obviously not everyone watches my videos. So obviously people are going to go out there and buy it, or people are going to be going out there and being curious about the system. And I feel like there needs to be people like me who will talk about the problems and the issues with the PlayStation Classic, so that maybe a handful of people that watch the video maybe decide to say, you know what, I don't really need this. Because as a consumer, this thing is disgusting. You have an ugly interface. You are missing key titles. You have an open source emulator running on it, not even an in-house one, that is running PAL versions of games. 9 of the games out of 20 on the PlayStation Classic are PAL version games. So they're not going to run as smooth as NTSC games. And it's good. The timing is going to be off. Everything is going to feel very weird. Can you adjust to it? Sure. But here's the thing. Why in the hell should I adjust to this? Why should I have to adjust to this when you could have just done the NTSC versions of the game for the proper regions? Like this is the laziest and stupidest thing in the world. How many more corners have they cut with this system? And the fact that this came out like what, a week or two before the system is actually supposed to come out, this is kind of vital information, Sony. They just posted it on a blog on their website, like, oh yeah, there's gonna be PAL versions of the games for 9 of those games. So Tekken 3, you're pretty much better off just, pirating it, or, getting a Tekken 3 disc and just playing it on your PS3, because literally, this is crap. This is crap. This is unacceptable, and as consumers, we need to be against things like this. Will I end up buying one? More than likely, because I have to review the damn thing, because I'm sure you guys are chomping at the bit to see how I really feel once I get one of these in my hands. But how has this thing gotten so bad? How has this thing spiraled out of control so quickly? I went from like up here, like, yes, the PlayStation Classic, this thing is cool, this thing is going to be under my Christmas tree that I don't have, to like down here, I'm like, AT Games, are you making this? Are you behind this? Obviously, Sony outsourced this thing to someone, and they just didn't care. And if Sony doesn't care, and the company making it doesn't care, should the consumers care? I say no, man. I say no. But that's really all I got to say about this thing. Like, this is absolute insanity. This thing has gotten worse and worse every time Sony opens their mouth about it and releases more information on it, or, you know, people get it in their hands, and it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame, because this is such an easy thing for Sony to do. It would have been so cool if they would have just knocked it out of the park, but they're literally just like strike three or a bunt that goes out, you know, and the catcher catches it and he tags you before you even start running. Baseball. But those are my thoughts on the current situation of the PlayStation Classic. I want to know what you guys think of this. Is the PAL games for 9 of the games the definitive thing that will cut you off from the PlayStation Classic, or are you still excited for it? Do you still have hope that it will be decent? Let me know in the comments section down below, and as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.